Welcome to NBC Sports Washington Studios. I'm the sports professor, Rick Horrow, and this is Beyond the Scoreboard. Seasons may change in the sports world, but there's one thing that'll always remain constant. There's money to be made. Teams, players, leagues, cities, companies, everyone's looking for a big payday, and believe me, they're out there. Business and athletics go hand in hand, no matter where you are on the calendar, and innovations being made now could have a lasting effect as the years move forward.
Wizards get the turnover. Beal ahead of the pack. Dagger!
It's a call Wizards fans love to hear. Dagger. Washington's had its fair share of ups and downs on the hardwood this season, but the D.C. fan base remains strong, passionate, and ready for more. And that's exactly what NBC Sports Washington gave them starting this past January by introducing an interactive alternate broadcast of select Wizards games that provides viewers a brand new live experience full of stats and real-time sports betting. This alternate broadcast features a free contest called Predict the Game. Viewers predict various outcomes during the game and earn points throughout, with the top eligible scorer walking away with the cool $500 prize. NBC Sports Washington Senior Vice President and General Manager Damon Phillips said the experience appeals to everyone from first-time gaming players to savvy sports bettors, while adding the network is pleased to offer this compelling product this season. It's a revolutionary idea capitalizing on legalized sports gambling, and the industry has certainly taken notice. Football remains the king of the sports world, and despite some concerns in recent years, the NFL has shown an ability to adapt and thrive, a fact supported by some very important numbers this past season. Television ratings were up 5% over last year, broadcasting to an average of 15.8 million viewers per week. This ratings rebound headlined by the league's highest-rated game of the season, the Redskins and Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. Overall, the NFL produced 46 of the 50 most-watched telecasts from September through December, and their reach is expanding, with viewership on digital streams increasing 86% this past year, what should make league executives happy, while also distracting them from declining attendance numbers, which were the lowest since 2010. The sports landscape is changing a bit, though, and the NFL is doing its best to change with the times. The league has relaxed its once strict gambling policies and inked a deal with Caesars to become their first casino sponsor. Of the four major sports in the U.S., the National Football League has been by far the most reluctant to embrace the new normal when it comes to gambling. NBA, NHL, and MLB have been out front since this past May's Supreme Court ruling. But like I said, the NFL is king, and casinos know it. So with the Raiders heading for Vegas, not to mention the 2020 draft being held in Sin City, expect the NFL to remain at the forefront of the sports gambling scene moving forward.
I'm not coming into a bare cupboard. I'm coming into a team that has fight in them, that has the toughness and the characteristics that I feel like we can build on.
After a trying year for the football program, Maryland football is starting fresh with a new head coach, one that promises a new atmosphere in College Park. Mike Locksley will roam the sidelines at Capital One Field after signing a contract reportedly full of incentives. According to the Baltimore Sun, Locksley can get a bump in pay for conference championships, bowl games, and yes, even national championship runs. The Sun also reports that former head coach D.J. Durkin was owed just over $5 million at the time he was fired, leaving the athletic department searching for a solution. And after a year of making national headlines for all the wrong reasons, the Maryland football program appears intent in finally moving on. The Terps have a long way to go to get on this list, though. The Wall Street Journal released its list of most valuable college football programs in the country, a list headlined by the University of Texas at a value of over $1.1 billion. Ohio State and Alabama are the only other programs above the billion-dollar mark. Expect Clemson, ranked 26th, to skyrocket next year after another national championship. Maryland checks in at 51st overall. Money in college athletics will always be a topic up for debate, but recently several student athletes have begun to take control of their financial future by taking them off of the field during the bowl season. This growing trend is expanded after seeing top prospects take this route and cash in at the draft, while only a few cautionary tales saw their stock and rookie contracts drop dramatically. The risk versus reward, of course, is up to each individual person. But remember, there's a lot of money on the line. And imagine the debate on this topic when a stud player decides to sit out the national championship game. On the college basketball side, Duke's Zion Williamson has certainly taken college basketball by storm, and there doesn't seem to be a lot standing between him and a boatload of money really soon. Forbes recently came out with an article discussing how long it would be until Zion makes $1 billion. $1 billion. Only 3 athletes have ever made that much: Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, and Floyd Mayweather. That's quite a list. The article touts Williamson's on-court ability and off-court charisma as reasons why this number seems realistic.
Today is a day for celebration in a great city that adores and avidly supports its sports teams, and for our 101-year-old sports league.
It took the Washington Capitals 44 years to hoist the Stanley Cup, and they had to go through the expansion Vegas Golden Knights to do so. Now the NHL is expanding again, this time to the Pacific Northwest, by adding the league's 32nd franchise in Seattle. Starting play in the 2021-22 season, the new Seattle franchise hopes to replicate the success Vegas had in their inaugural season. The league will receive an expansion fee of $650 million, split among every other team except for Vegas. Commissioner Gary Bettman cited Seattle's committed ownership group, thriving market, and the state-of-the-art venue as 3 pillars for success in the National Hockey League. The Caps' title defense is underway, and they would rather not wait 44 years for the next cup, by the way. A truly exciting time for Ted Leonsis and the Capitals ownership group, especially since hockey and basketball are not the only things they're involved in. Monumental Sports and Entertainment are part of the growing esports world with a controlling interest in Team Liquid. Senior Vice President Zach Leonsis is well aware of the potential esports has and is excited to be at the forefront as it develops.
This is a highly engaged audience that doesn't traditionally subscribe to cable or traditional media. They're more interested in new platforms like Twitch. And you know, it's funny, what's old is new again. Yeah. PBS always ran on viewers donating money. Right. Now there are esports players who are streaming their practice, interacting with fans, participating in keyboard chat, and they're encouraging their fans to make a donation so they can keep going. And that's become a huge business. You know, the major 4 leagues, these are mature businesses. The NHL is 100 years old, and that is fabulous. The prestige with that is through the roof. Esports is just sort of an embryonic use case, and that's why it's so exciting to see what the future might hold. And it's so different from the traditional sports that we participate on. There's really something that traditional sports can learn from esports, and that esports can certainly learn from traditional sports.
Esports is headed on a near vertical market trend after an incredible year. Expectations are even higher moving forward, with esports revenues projected to reach nearly $2.5 billion by the year 2020. Big names from all walks of life are getting involved. Everyone from Alex Rodriguez to Steph Curry to Kobe Bryant to Jennifer Lopez are invested in the sport. And sponsors are beginning to take notice. And with over 80 million hours watched on Twitch and YouTube for just one tournament alone, they had better be. Coming up, he made his name in burgundy and gold as one of the fastest players in NFL history. And now he's heavily involved in the college game, and so is his Super Bowl champion teammate. Hall of Famer Darryl Green and former Redskins safety Brad Edwards welcome us to George Mason University when we return.
For me, I've trained at George Mason throughout my whole career, so I was very familiar with the school. I consider George Mason the little boy that grew up down the street. You know, 37,000 students today. So I was here and I trained over here, but I was in this athletic world over at Mary Washington for a couple of years prior to getting here. And so it's been fun because you know, I wasn't a guy that wanted to be in coaching, but I love being around young people. And so we get a chance to be around the young people and still have an impact in their lives, and still also get to touch athletics and experience that. So it's been a great transition for me. I'm really enjoying it. One of our goals is to help grow the quality and prosperity of this region. One of the things that we do to do that is our students, if you may not realize this, 70% of our students stay right here. They stay within 50 miles of this institution when they graduate. So we're supplying the biggest supply of the workforce in this region. But we're trying to build our community. We're not just sitting over here on our own, on the corner, but we are part of the real life breath of this region. and it's not by accident. So I'm excited to be a part of that. I just can't overemphasize the fact that we're already doing extraordinary work as an institution, and we're not, you know, you tend to try to, it's like me playing cornerback. You're a cornerback. Well, I'm really a football player on the defense, and that defense is a part of the whole team. So we're part of the institution. With that 3.2 grade point average, that puts us in the institution. We're not just dribbling balls and running and jumping hurdles.
Rick Horrow, we're here at a Redskins game, a South Carolina University game. No, we're here at George Mason game.
Right.
Brad Edwards.
We can go to Columbia if you like.
No, we're not. We're going to stay right here. Brad Edwards,
I like
athletic
it.
director. George Mason, thank you very much
It's
for being
great
here.
to be here.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. So,
And I like my alma mater, by the way.
yeah, and you've been in so many different places, but I know that your alma mater will be back as well.
Absolutely.
You know, the bottom line from your perspective is a hearty congratulations. You signed a 5-year extension through 2023. You started here in July of 2014. You certainly earned your stripes, but there is a value and a virtue in stability, is there not?
Absolutely. And knowing uncertainty is not a bad thing, and certainly in sports and in life. And so it's this is an amazing university. It's one of the fastest growing universities, certainly the youngest in the country to be a Tier 1, your top 100 research universities in America. So it's an amazing university in a great area and a wonderful place to live, and it's obviously in the backyard of a place that I had a great experience with the Redskins.
Your success in dealing with what an AD has to do, a lot of it's based on your, just asking, celebrity as a Redskin, business acumen, prior athletic department experience, or Darryl Green?
All the above. You know, all the above. You have to know what assets you have. You got to bring them to the table. And then you have to hire better people than yourselves. And
he's still faster than you, by far, right?
I don't know. I think I could take him now because I could mandate a 5-yard lead by the boss. And so where I used to work for Darryl, it might be the opposite now. But it's I get to walk in with a Super Bowl ring. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I have a guy in the office that has a Hall of Fame ring. Yeah. And is really.
But you tag team very well, I understand.
We really do. And Darryl is. You will not find a better ambassador for sport and for your university than Darryl Green. It's just been amazing.
Give me your perspective on raising dollars, raising credibility, raising awareness in a very crowded D.C. sports market.
Yeah, it really is crowded. And but from a higher ed perspective, you got to know who you are, what you add, and the value that you bring to the conversation. And one of the things, we're in a very affluent area, and a lot of money's in business and those sort of things. And for us as a university, what we do is we really are the largest workforce provider in the region in terms of college-educated college graduates and bringing them in the marketplace. So I just think we're able to tell that story and do it really well, what that means, and don't ignore your backyard in terms of investing in that ecosystem of growth and what that means. 70% of our graduates stay and live within 50 miles of campus. So what that does to improving the quality of life and prosperity of the region, you really can't quantify that.
Let's talk about legacy a little bit. It's now been 13 years since the Final Four appearance, but when you look at some of the numbers that people tried to quantify that amazing run in 2006, talked about right immediately after a raise of about $100 million more in revenue, 53 licensees from 38, and on. What do you feel is the lingering effect of that 2006 run?
It's absolutely brand awareness. And we've had 2 Nobel Prize winning faculty members here at the university, and the president will tell you, and that's important, and we need more.
Did they play in 06?
They, if they could have helped us, then we would have figured out a way to bring them into part of the conversation, the calculus. But the president will tell you he's amazed at how many times he goes out and somebody brings up the Final Four. It just has that lasting legacy to it, and it had a tremendous impact on the university. We've grown by well over 1,000 students a year since that time. So it really has been hard to. The early 2-year measurement was about $700 million of impact. A lot of that media exposure, but. In terms of just the brand awareness in our market and nationally, you will never really be able to quantify that.
Some people say you like some moment in time in history. you come in, you ignore it, you would say embrace it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm all about embracing your history, and I think that takes confidence to do that. I think people who run from that, particularly when they come in on the back end of it, are just need to take a little bit of a step back and gain a little confidence from it.
All right, so segue into Redskins. So it's 98, and you're 54th player drafted by the Vikings?
Yes.
And it's round 2. Did you ever imagine 20 years later you'd be the athletic director at a school?
No, and even more so here, and going back to Darryl Green, during the off seasons with the Redskins, we would come over here and train on the track right outside of our office here at George Mason. The first day that I was at Redskin Park, I was about to walk out the door that afternoon after we had meetings and on-field practice. Darryl walks up and says, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to go try to find a track." He said, "We all go over to George Mason, use their track, and there's a hill over there," and that's how I got exposed to this place. So there's a little bit of ownership here that both of us enjoy and feel for the place.
Well, you certainly left your mark with the Redskins as well, being MVP, the Super Bowl and all. How did being on that island in the defensive backfield prepare you for life here?
Well, it's very much the same feel. You're on an island as an athletic director, and it's only getting more island.
They don't pay them enough, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a ploy for some more dollars.
Yeah, liability has gone up for athletic directors and college presidents, for that matter.
Yeah, right.
Let me say that much. So yeah, just great preparation in terms of managing the stress and those sort of things.
Let's talk just for a few minutes about your perspective and perception of the current state of college athletics. Give me a 30,000-foot general answer first. How's college athletics today?
Yeah, I think and it's very healthy. It's grown tremendously. Obviously, the viewership and the interest in what we do, particularly in major college basketball and college football, has just it's been a meteor. It's grown so much, and college football is easily one of the top most popular sports now in America, and so that interest I don't see going away anytime soon, and it's fueled so much by the institutional equity and goodwill that institutions bring to it in terms of the name that's on the front of the jersey as opposed to the name that's on the back. And I think for me, I really realized that as a college student that's really what most of these people are coming for, and to see that grow and develop. No, I think it's a very healthy. Education is still at the core of what we do. I think that's when you get into pay for play. That's where a lot of the presidents are of the mindset. While we may be making money, we're also borrowing a lot of money. But if we move away from the education piece, then it's no longer really what we do. So I think that's a big question that's going to get fleshed out, ultimately in courts and others. But I think by and large the interest is extraordinarily high.
Are you ever going to bring in football?
Yeah, we haven't said never.
Okay.
It's what we can't do or won't do is if you build it, they'll come.
Yeah.
Or allow it to be a zero-sum game on current resources, with our current capital structure here. So if the resources were to show up in a way that were meaningful, for us. Yeah, I mean, we take a look at it. Football does so many things for an institution. I mean, even taking into account cancer research, there are very few things that can broaden a university's base of support beyond its current alumni base. Very few. Football has done that, and I think higher ed really owes it a debt of gratitude over the last 100 years for what it's done from that perspective, let alone the hundreds of thousands of young men who got college educations or college degrees from these very elite institutions where they would otherwise never have gotten in. So it's done a lot of great things in that regard, but it is the upfront costs are, in a industry that's as competitive as telecommunications, as energy or anything else. It is no one's taking their foot off the gas at the highest level.
I guess the final really important thing that I'm sure viewers are going to want to know, you Redskins, it's probably the only team in the league that has two wonderful defensive backs who went on to be athletic directors at respective institutions, you and Mark Murphy. So I have to ask you, are you a better administrator than Mark?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Was he a better defensive back than you?
No.
Okay. Good.
Well, and then we have Todd Bowles in the middle
by the
of
way.
us.
Yeah, well, this is going to Green Bay tomorrow. I just want to tell
Mark was amazing, and when I got the job here, I immediately got a note from him that said, "When are you adding football?"
Yeah,
Exclamation mark.
I want to play you tomorrow.
Yeah, he's great.
And then the final question for you personally. You've done such a great job here short term, and then you just signed a long-term 5-year extension. Hypothetically, if an NFL executive job popped up, would you even consider it?
I absolutely would consider something like that. But the problem is we have such a great life that within Division I have one of the best jobs in Division I because it's a great institution, an exciting institution. While we don't have football, I can go right down the street to see the Redskins play. I'm on the Military Bowl board, so there's a lot of things that feed that piece for me. But yeah, football is something that I obviously know reasonably well. So it's something you keep an open mind and what's the best interest for you and your family.
Brad Edwards, Mason is in good hands. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Still to come when mascots attack. Bevo and Uga got into it this bowl season. They're certainly two of the more recognizable mascots in the world of sports. Now, there's a place to recognize the best of the best. Be right back. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard. Professional wrestling may not be taken seriously all the time, but it's clear that Vince McMahon and WWE have a business plan that works. Look no further than a report that their WrestleMania 34 show last year created $175 million worth of economic impact for the city of New Orleans. It brought in a record crowd of over 78,000 fans from all 50 states and 67 countries, making it the highest grossing entertainment event in the Superdome's history. Obviously, all of this is music to the ears of WrestleMania's 35 host, MetLife Stadium. Mascots are a lifeblood of a team's fan base. They are there to entertain kids, a.k.a. the next generation of fans, and now these furry creatures have their own Hall of Fame. A 25,000-square-foot interactive children's museum honoring the best mascots in sports has opened in Indiana. The hall features over a dozen inductees already, and they plan on introducing and inducting more annually. Doesn't matter what month it is. Heck, it doesn't even matter if there's a game or not. The NFL is can't miss and appointment viewing. That's been clear for a very, very long time. For example, last year's NFL draft generated over $125 million of economic impact for the Dallas region, a new record. And with the 2019 draft set to come from Nashville, a city that already has a lot going for it, that should further cement what's essentially become a 12-month calendar for the NFL. There's a major fear of missing out. I mean, there's always something going on, whether it's the draft, free agency, minicamp, whatever. The NFL remains front and center with no offseason when it comes to making headlines or money. That'll do it for this edition of Beyond the Scoreboard. I'm the sports professor, Rick Horrow. We'll see you next time.